they see that they've got this open land that's ready to go. Maybe we can put a sign or something like that right now, but if we're supposed to have somebody on site, that's an airport thing directly. I'm trying to attract the business there. So, but I can tell you right now, anything that we're pushing out directly, it's coming through my department, and it's got our contact on it. But if it's just a happenstance.
I like the sign idea, especially at the.
We've got a sign. I think maybe if we just add a little drop banner at the bottom or something for contact and just have a number on there or an email, something along those lines would probably work.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think I've talked to a few of you, but at some point, I identified these airports as, strategic assets for this county to ensure that you're leveraging them appropriately. And I think we're doing a lot of the right things now, but at some point I will be coming to you. I think you're going to be at a point at some point you do need someone, kind of dedicated to that. Todd does a good job with what he's doing, but, you got to kind of take it up to the next level with what we're going to do managing these assets, because they're assets that we got to leverage. And if we get the business park, that's going to be a large undertaking itself, managing that component alone. So I think we have some great opportunities. We actually have been looking at some job descriptions, and ICE actually was involved in that early on, talking about what they thought the need was for these airports at some point. So I'll be coming to you at some point with an F-bomb.
Steve, on the aviation business side, are those folks typically going through site selectors, or are they doing it in-house?
Well, that's part of the phase two, so that's something that we're trying to, right now we're focused on the non-aeronautical side of it. Mm-hmm. But on that aviation side, that's something I'm looking at planning for the future, was once that site's, if we have somebody, because I am throwing that in there, that these sites will be ready. They're not ready today, but they will be, or they will be available. It will take a lot of earth movement to have all of that ready to go. So you're looking, I'm not an engineer by any stretch, but I think you're looking well over a year, if not longer, for that is ready to go at the current rate. Mm-hmm. We can try and speed that up if we have a serious interest, but as far as marketing it, we will start looking at dedicated aviation resources to market through and promote through. As I mentioned earlier, I'm looking in 2025 to start a dedicated marketing pitch with an outside resource as far as an external website that promotes everything. And as Todd had mentioned just a minute ago, and Mr. Howard as well, we have 2 airports in this county, which are huge assets. Mm-hmm. So we're not just pushing just Inverness. We're also looking at what Crystal River has to offer as well. So we're trying to take full advantage of those assets and promote those and put promotions in the right place, a strategic approach, not just a shotgun broadcast. So we will be looking down the road to push the aeronautical piece of it, okay, in a very cohesive manner and strategic manner.
Okay. Well, when you get ready to do that, you may want to hit me up to leverage my career and contacts and all that. So.
Well, I've got you on tape now. So.
And Steve, also, we received a grant from Duke, which is not just specific to the airports, but again, it's targeting this whole county as well. So we're working on that next.
Yes, that'll be coming here hopefully soon.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kennard.
Yeah, you'd said that the airport or aeronautical side of it would be ready in about a year, but that could be expedited if we had an interested party. And I guess my question is, if the legislature has given us the funding for it, why aren't we expediting it?
I guess that would be more of like an engineer question. That's not necessarily me. I know the funding is there. Once we start phase 2, that's going to be priority number 1, I would assume. There's going to be a lot of, like I said, earth movement that's going to have to take place. You got to clear all that. I think right now the dirt piles from phase 1 kind of blocking where that taxiway is going to go down. So that would have to be done first, and then clearing out for the hangars and then extending the taxiway. That's going to take some time to do. But getting back to what you had asked about, if we had a serious interested party, private money does move faster than government money. So I'm welcome to that. Sure. So if they're willing to invest as well in partnership with us into getting that moving faster, I'm sure that's something that the county would entertain wholeheartedly.
Well, I would think my colleagues as well would like to see this project move forward as if we had an interested party calling right now, going, where are you at on the
I
aeronautical
agree.
side of it? One of the concerns that we heard repeatedly out of Tallahassee was once they gave us the money for the 491 extension or expansion project, that project moved at a snail's pace before we ever broke ground. Anytime that I went to Tallahassee and asked for funding for additional projects or to sit down and talk about other projects, the very first question was, how we doing on 491? We gave you guys the money, how we doing on 491? And, you know, again, I know this isn't your area here, but they gave us the money. Let's get rolling. Like, we've got somebody, hopefully the message is heard loud and clear that let's get that second phase rolling.
I'm with you. Hey, if the sooner we have those additional pieces to the puzzle, the sooner we can have some actual activity and operations happening there. So
That sounds great.
I'm for it.
Put some more tools in your toolbox.
Exactly.
Just, Mr.
I'd
Howard,
like to have Todd address that, because I think they are going as quick as we can with the process, but go ahead.
That's correct, Steve. It's, on November 19th, we're going to be, the board's going to be presented with a work authorization to move forward with the formal EA. That will take a year. It could be shorter than that, but we have to prepare for at least a year. And really shouldn't be doing anything while that's going underway. So we can confidently say for a year, this has to work its course.
Commissioner Bays.
I've
That's
been
the quick
involved in
stamp.
this project pretty deeply for the last 18 months, and it's my understanding that all of that material from the first phase is going to be used to extend that runway and to get over to what we had originally discussed as being a heliplex.
A lot of that material, and there is a lot, part of it is going to be used for the taxiway going into the business park. The other part of it can be used to get parts of the airport pad ready, level out some of the land there. We are going to create more fill when we develop phase two. Nowhere near as much, but we're also going to be using that. So
Well, my concern is that you've had what I would consider a very interested party for 2 years. And we've talked about the corporate hangar, but nothing has ever been presented to them. There's no, terms, ideas, thoughts, cost, lease, options. None of that's ever materialized to the point of moving it to the next level. So I think we do have an interested party and have had an interested party for about 24 months. That's been very serious, and not sure why we're not massaging that and being more serious with them.
well, we hired the aviation attorney, I believe, in late July. We had our first meeting with him in early August. And we have some leases that are coming out, just got the ground lease. And now that we're going to review that and look at some terms, we'll be presenting, we can present the 30% design that we have. And we can also present the lease too, and with terms. So we're very, very close. And also about the corporate hangar, will be an office within that hangar that is dedicated for county personnel in aviation. So if we need any type of representation, there will be an office there.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Crystal River?
Crystal River. Okay. Runway extension we just discussed, but the next item up for bid will be our environmental assessment. After that is complete, we can move on with our land acquisition. And then also our Aegis survey will be towards, a little bit in the beginning, but mostly towards the end. Our fuel farm replacement, we've got all of our documents. We need to go out for a rebid. And once that happens, hopefully that project can wrap up shortly, or within the end of next year, I should say.
What's going to be rebid? What did you
The fuel farm replacement at Crystal River.
All right.
We have an electrical vault and emergency generator that's on the airport that's, we've stopped the sinkhole from going further down, but now we need to level that plane out. It's in rough shape, but that project is, well, we just got our geotech report, and hopefully it will be on site by December and start
I
to fix that.
didn't know we had a sinkhole there. Where is it?
We're about halfway in between halfway where the runway's at, a little north of that is a small building and generator that if we lose power, the generator will keep the lights on for aircraft. And we need to rehabilitate that area.
Okay.
And then our wetland mitigation. So after our EA, will be between the land acquisition and wetland mitigation. Those are some of the next steps. And I believe that's it for Crystal River.
Okay. Thank you, Todd.
And I think
Anything?
that's
All
it
good?
for me.
All right. Appreciate the updates.
Any further questions?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Todd. Okay, open to the public. If anyone would like to address the board, please fill out a green card, hand to the clerk. You can do that after you speak if you haven't done it already. You will have 3 minutes to speak. If you're registered as a group, please let second vice chair know, so you'll get 5 minutes to speak. And all comments are to be directed at the chair. Hi, Bob.
Oh, hello, Madam Chair. I'd like to focus my thoughts today on Commissioner Ruthie Schlaubuck.
Do you want 5, are you 5 minutes with, is this
3
person?
minutes.
3, okay.
She wants 10. But she hasn't heard what I'm going to say yet. She might not want 10. I've lost my momentum now, Ruthie. I really want to recognize her, since today is her last day as a sitting county commissioner. 4 years ago, she began her formal service to the citizens of Citrus County. And unceasingly, she gave her time and talents towards satisfactory resolution of every task faced by this body of makers who work tirelessly for the community. And that's all of you. You've worked together tirelessly. Essentially, Commissioner Schlaubuck has dedicated her life's work for the betterment of Citrus County and its citizens. She's accomplished many things over the 4 years, having always made decisions in the best interest of her constituents. During a significant portion of her time of service, she had a personal medical challenge in which she had to undergo chemotherapy. I'm sure it's debilitating, and this went on for quite some time, while all the while, no matter how difficult the side effects were of chemotherapy and struggle, she continued to attend and focus on her public duty and demanding responsibilities. It's remarkable. It's truly remarkable that you have done that for all of us. Commissioner Schlaubuck is to be applauded not only for her dedication and service, but also for your example of strength and perseverance. It's greatly appreciated by all of the citizens in Citrus County. We will dearly miss you and always remember that you are the ultimate example of a public servant. Thank you, Commissioner Schlaubuck.
Thank you, Mr. Rudamo.
Ditto. Terry Weber Nellis, Inverness Villages 4. Best of luck to you, Commissioner. There were a couple of statements made at the last meeting by Commissioner Kennard I'd like to address. He sat on this board during the Kitchen and Carnahan days and barely said boo, while the disaster in IV4 continued, and it just drove the cost through the roof. I don't think he gives a hoot about IV4 or if the MSBU bankrupts people. Due to the county's delay in addressing this problem, he just wants it off his plate. And he continues to state that we bought on dirt roads. I didn't. He keeps leaving out the fact that the roads were put in illegally without proper permits being issued under the watchful eye of Citrus County. Commissioner Davis, thank you for correcting him about the cost of the first study, because his number was way off. Again, it just doesn't seem like he's paying attention. Ms. Lynn stated she has been in Citrus County since 1997, so obviously she must know that it was agricultural land, a dairy farm, I believe, with no sugar sand or lime rock roads. The roads were put in illegally. Citrus County was made aware of what was going on and who was doing it. They were even made aware of times it was actually taking place. So Commissioner Kennard, is it all of a sudden Denise Lynn's fault? No, it's not all of a sudden at all. And I hold others accountable too, because it's my tax dollars paying them. County ordinances continue to be violated constantly within IV4, as recently as 2 days before Hurricane Milton. You dropped the ball big time, Citrus County, and Commissioner Kennard seems to have a hard time realizing that. I've lost so much respect for people I consider to be good, honest, God-fearing people. I voiced my concerns about Ms. Lynn's legal guidance to Commissioner Davis very early on, but you could have knocked me over with a feather when Commissioner Bays had the courage to hold her accountable. Thank you to the commissioners who shared some of the behind-the-scenes things that we don't get to see out in the audience. I appreciate that. Again, good luck to you, Commissioner Schleba.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I'm Max Schulman. I'm from Inverness. I am a self-described environmentalist and activist. I concentrate on sustainable ecotourism, and I'm also very active in the veterans world, as well as the County Historical Society. For me, those three things come together right now, and first, I want to say this so everybody understands. I am so in awe of what your staff does, the way they do it, and especially what they've had to handle the last 18 months. But you're going to be treated, we have Veterans Week is underway. We've gotten great support from the county. And I have it on a good source that you're going to be treated to a wonderful article that is historical and military in an upcoming edition of the Chronicle. And it's going to give you the story of Lieutenant James F. Izzard. It's a war story that goes back to 1836. And I just want to use this opportunity to ask you to make sure you read it. And then remember that in March of 23, Swiftmud closed. We had no option in it, but they closed the Camp Izzard boat ramp. Sustainable ecotourism is based on giving people skin in the game, and it has to have culture and history. We're doing a great job in the Historical Society of expanding the untold stories and the undertold stories, but it's essential that we continue to tell the good stories about our history. First of all, people feel like their culture is being taken away if you don't. And second, it gives everybody a shared view. So that story of this first lieutenant who was as blue blood as they get, West Point graduate who had fought in the Black Hawk Wars and was supposed to out-process and called his father's friend, General Gaines, or contacted him and said, I'm a dragoon. We're the special forces of that at that time. After the Dade Massacre, he said, I'll come lead your forces across the Withlacoochee River. On his 25th birthday in 1836, he was shot through the eye, knocked off his horse, got up, sent his men to ground, sent the courier to Gaines to tell him that there was what turned out to be 1,500 Seminoles, largest war party ever assembled to Custer. And it happened so we could come to Citrus County and settle. Now, we need to tell that story accurate and be much kinder to the Native Americans, but we need to keep it in ours. So please set a goal. It's Veterans Day, read the story. By Memorial Day in the spring, we need to restore that name to one of our boat ramps, and we need to get historical markers that tell the story. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for all you're doing, and thank you, Ruthie.
Thank you, Mr. Schulman. You also stuck the landing at 3 minutes. Well done.
I do the same. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Mark Rohrig. I live in Floral City, 6 years there now. And I have first part, second, and third to this brief speech, and it's a need for Floral City, and secondly, a way that the need will accomplish a great deal in Floral, and a request to make it happen. So Floral City is one of the most amazing historic towns in the state, and the bike trail is the focal point running right through our town. Now, the county does an excellent job maintaining this trail, and I'm sure at great expense. But the motivation to ride the trail is lacking. And I'm a rider, and usually what motivation is a destination, and what I'll do when I get to my destination. So I can tell you that for a small town, we are stacked with churches and bars. But I have an idea for Floral, and it's called the BTC Center. It could be called a lot of things, but that's just what I'm coming up with. Bike Trail Community Center. Now, a center for all residents to promote a social well-being through exercise and community. We will develop a senior sect at the center to promote walking groups, as well as cards, chess, games, etc. Secondly, a complete fitness ensemble for which purchase has already been made, from 20 machines to 2,500 pounds of free weights, right down to the mirrors and rubber floors. Thirdly, and I'm passionate about this, education. There'll be scheduled talks on cycling and triking and mini trikes and bikes for first-time riders to try out, as well as classes, exercise classes, and riding on the trail. Fourthly, a social aspect, potluck dinners, movie nights, dances, Bible studies, which I'm passionate about, non-alcohol events for the entire family is the plan. Now, we get to the good part. If we can indeed follow this course, it will put Withlacoochee Trail on the map, primarily Floral City as a trail destination, remembering that destination is motivation, and having a complete workout facility just 20 feet off the trail is a game changer. Let me tell you how. Many will make bike purchases that they can ride to the center, and why not? No longer will they have to ride 10 miles to other towns to, make a commercial type jump, which, by the way, has none of the attributes which I've just mentioned. Furthermore, we will cater to riders by the secure bike parking and open bay doors. I'll explain the bay doors. Most importantly, fitness-minded riders from out of town and the state abroad will make Floral a destination, remembering that motivation to ride is the destination. Anyone can see the path forward on this appeal, but there's a roadblock, or should I say a trail block. We have the perfect spot. And when I say perfect, I just mean perfect. It's right off the trail. It's got plenty of parking, and it's a large, tall space for equipment to go inside. It's already concrete with bay doors. And I'm speaking of the old volunteer firehouse, and people see that old gray ghost. And well, now what it's doing, it's currently being used as storage for animal services.
Thank you.
And I'm out of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it's the same rules for everyone.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you on your quick
Thank you.
response to my request, and we'll be speaking, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
We'll address everyone when everyone's done.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Janet Barrick, Citrus Springs resident. I went through a few things, and the outstanding commissioner items I printed, and I looked at the list, of course, civic staffing, Crystal River Connector Trail and so on. There was one thing that I don't see on it that should have been near the top, if not at the top. What happened to the county space needs? The court has needed space for at least 4 years. They've asked and asked and asked. what actually is being done. Money was supposedly being set aside. Okay, we were supposed to be getting this ready. The judges are here, or there will be. They need space. And I'm sorry, but that, to me, is a need for this board to have addressed, not just put it down, well, we'll put money aside and we'll, you know, it's a nice list, and I mean, it's not a small list, but it is a very, very high priority need for the judges in our county and the residents of our county. They have to wait months and months to get to court because there are not enough courtrooms. That's not fair to anybody that is waiting to go to court. Second, I did get a copy, and I typed it out myself because the print was so midget. The MSBU roads for Citrus Springs that are going to be repaved, and I'll be making copies of it for Citrus Springs residents. There's a total of 3 roads or 2.47 miles with $850,000 for the 23-24 that haven't been started yet. But then there's a total of 6 roads for a total of 2.52 miles for the $850,000 for 24-25. That's not very many roads, but that is not the county money, that is the MSBU money. And it's a total of 7 roads for $1.7 million. Not very much, you know, I don't know who comes up with the list or how they figure it out. I know that they can't consider anything with Citrus Springs. It has to be worst roads first. So I'm hoping that the people that live on these roads are very pleased when the roads are finally done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Slayball, Lecanto, Florida. Schlabach.
Listen, don't, please. Bob already made me tear up, so please don't.
Commissioners, so just shout out to Commissioner Slayball. Ruthie, I get to call you Ruthie now, right?
Does she make you call her commissioner at home?
Just shush, shush. Shush.
Off the record. Great job last 4 years, good accomplishments. Just a proud husband. You showed a lot of courage and strength throughout your whole ordeal in your health and while you were chair. So fine job. And it'll be nice to have you back home again and have some more time to ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh Wooten, Chief Executive Officer of the Citrus County Chamber of Commerce. And I do like Janet, and I don't know who she's going to yell at when next week, because all those questions she's asking, she has to answer. So, so anyway, so I came today, even though supposed to be in St. Augustine. I put my trip off a couple of hours to thank Commissioner Schleybaugh. And I mean, I was thinking about all the things that she did get accomplished, but how she was kind of a, you know, not really a thorn in the side of administration, but always pushing behind the scenes to make sure things weren't forgotten, like the Inverness Industrial Park. You know, there were some headwinds with a couple of commissioners and administrators that didn't really think that was such a priority. And I kind of credit her for keeping it on the front burner so that we could at least get the grants that y'all are now enjoying to do the work. So we have a area council of the chamber, Beverly Hills Area Council, we call it BHAC. You know, the priorities that we came up with, we ended up saying, we don't care what you do with the pool, just get the hole out of the ground. So she took care of that. We asked her to get Forest Ridge Boulevard resurfaced. She did that. We asked for the pickleball courts. She did that. And I think that she laid the groundwork for y'all to take that 33 acres there around Civic Circle and do something special with it. So I'm here to, and there's so much more, but to do all of that facing cancer, I mean, I don't know that I could do that. I don't know that I would be able to have the strength and determination to do all of that. And not to mention the relationships that you formed in Tallahassee where, you know, there's millions of dollars that came into this community and to clean up our waterways. So long story short, there's much more to do. And I can tell you it's much more fun on this side of the dais because when people yell at you in public, you can just keep walking because you're not elected anymore. You can pick and choose the things that you want to be effective on. So we still have 2 business parks that need to be filled with businesses. I know that's your passion. There's a lot to be done. I know that we've got the behavioral health problems that I'm sure Commissioner Bays would like you to stay involved in. You have behavioral health problems yourself, so it's not going to hurt you to.
You're mostly my behavioral
yes.
health.
Oh, and that's what I ran into you and Jerry at St. John's Tavern Saturday, go figure. And I told Ruthie, we can be seen in public together now because you're going off the board.
No, I actually can't, but.
Still?
But, yeah.
But anyway, so I just, you know how much I love you. So now we have time to go to concerts, which we all love, to go up to One Ocean in Jacksonville and spend time up there. And you've been a wonderful commissioner and a better friend. And so good to the business community. You didn't give us all that we asked for, but that's not required. It's just to be an honest broker and to hear us out. And I know you're going to stay involved, and we need you to stay involved. And I can tell you, it's much better on this side. I mean, I admire what y'all go through, but it's much better. You look like the stress is leaving you already. So thank you. God bless you in the future. And the future is bright, I can assure you. And we're going to put you to work doing a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close open to the public. Who would like to go first? Commissioner Kennard.
Yeah, given that, I guess that I was named in one of the comments up here, I'll go ahead and start with that one. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. I have really no interest in getting something off of my plate just to get it off there. What we've heard over and over is they're looking for a solution. There are no solutions surfacing other than an MSBU. I am ready to vote for that MSBU. In fact, we've got an agenda item on here today to spend another $20,000 for another study that I'm not going to support. The MSBU needs to be in place first so that we know who's paying for this, the money that's already been shelled out. There needs to be a mechanism in place so that all taxpayers are going to recover that. And this additional $20,000 needs to be part of that so that the county is able to recover that money, and then I'll support it. I support the phased approach. I want to get the drainage taken care of in there. I want to get this first phase rolling, and then the next phase, and the next phase. So this has nothing to do with Commissioner Kennard other than me wanting a solution. We're finding solutions. They may not like them, but I will continue to propose solutions and support them as long as it does not involve all of the county taxpayers building drainage and roads in a community where they purchased homes. So that's my interest in this. Mark, interesting proposition for the VTC Center in Floral City. We'll see. I'll be interested to hear more about that along the way. I'm not a big proponent of spending public funds on it, but he never got to the point that he was asking us for any money. Just throwing an idea out there. Sounds interesting. So,
Commissioner Finnegan?
Since you ended on that, I'll start on that. To Mr. Rorig, I don't know if you got my email this morning. He had reached out to me, and I also love the idea because he already has the equipment. So if there's a gym, he's willing to put all his equipment in there. But I had talked to staff about that yesterday, and I had sent this into an email this morning. So beyond storage, I've been told that's an overflow for also animals. For they've put like extra overflow cats there and rabbits, and then they staff that. So at this moment, I don't know that they're ready to put that building into another use, but that doesn't mean, I haven't had time to really start investigating that. Can it be moved somewhere else? Or what happens if there's a new animal shelter coming into play? Would that building be freed up? So that was the answer for right now. I don't know that you're getting a green light tomorrow, but we always can talk more in the future about that. But I think, especially in Floral City, and my apologies, I do want to point out that Commissioner Bays is your district commissioner. I think there was a relation, like where I used to go and live, like they realized, so that's why they reached out to me. I didn't know if they reached out to everybody or not. But I think that I love where your heart is for this and giving to the community. That would be so special in Floral City. And it's such wonderful people in Floral City. I'm sure they would love to have that little spot to come together to work out or, stop off on the trails. So the answer today isn't positive, but that doesn't mean that's not a goal that we can talk about more. Thank you. Oh, and IV4, we have an agenda item, so I'll wait to save any comments to that point.
Commissioner Bays? Commissioner Schleba?
Just want to say thank you, Bob. You started it. I appreciate your words. They were very kind. I'm not used to getting kind words sitting up here, so thank you very much. And Max, I appreciate it. And my husband, Jerry, thank you. He's a perfect political husband. And he never interfered. He never gave his opinion, but he was always supportive, so thank you.
Okay, I'll address a couple things. The Floral City idea, love the community aspect. I love that you want to bring positivity to everything. That's awesome. I agree with Commissioner Finnegan. It's not promising now, but thanks for letting us know about the idea, and certainly reach out to Commissioner Bays as well, since that's her district. Big fan of Floral City. Everyone who, Max, Izzard, where is Max? Did he leave? I believe Mr. Head is working on that, so that'll be getting done in terms of having a marker for the historical marker there. I know we have an agenda item on IV4, but just to address Commissioner Kennard's point, the problem is that the 109, may not cover it. We don't know what we're doing. We have to set the MSBU at the highest possible number it could be. And right now that was 100, or it's a little old actually, 109 is the current figure, but that was for the entire neighborhood. Once you start, and that was per lot, once you start carving it up into sections, that number could go up, it could go down. We don't know what that number will be. But I agree with what we said before. If we are going to be spending money on these studies, we need to be prepared to actually go through with MSBU to be able to capture those funds in the MSBU. So just wanted to bring that up so you could be noodling that before we get to the agenda item. Furthermore, I did speak to the FDLE investigator. Let's just say that the investigation is going well. He is not interviewing everyone to build a case. And there's not much else that I can say about that, but expect most likely him to reach out via email to gather stories from various folks in the neighborhood. And that's all I know on that. That does not, even if it is a promising investigation, he urged caution on thinking that there would be any financial compensation whatsoever through that. So, there's nothing further? Yes, Commissioner Kennard?
Yeah, just something else that came to mind on the BTC idea, as I'm sitting here listening to some of the comments about it, given the close proximity, if the overflow issue with the animal shelter, if that hurdle could be addressed, these trails can be classified or can be identified as linear parks. And so that could possibly be a good use for district-wide or county-wide park impact fees to set up or to expand that park, to expand the usage, the capacity of that park. So just, I guess, kind of keep that in your back pocket for when an idea like that does come to the board, that there's a source of funding. Certainly park impact fees can't be used for operations or anything like that, but maybe if there's modifications required to that facility, certainly he's generous enough to say he's got the equipment ready to go, but I think park impact fees would be a reasonable place to look for funds to at least set it up and expand that linear park. So just a thought there. I don't know what the right avenue to go is to make sure that we're going to recoup the money that's been spent and the money that's being proposed to be spent here today. If it's an assessment per lot out there or per property, or to put in a separate MSBU for design costs or what it might be, so that one MSBU or one vehicle may not be the one size fits all. It may require some different stages. We've not dealt with anything like this before. But I just want to make sure that that vehicle is in place so that the taxpayers are going to recoup that money, because each time we get further down this road and say, well, this is only 35. Well, this is only another 20. And then this is only another 45 to go this distance. And then it's only another 50. And before long, the taxpayers are out $250,000. And we still have no way that we're going to recoup it. Now, the board can sit here and say, yes, we're going to approve it, but if that doesn't come to us for 4 years or 5 years down the road, you could have a completely different board. And the board at that time says, I never agreed to that. So that's why, again, we'll talk about it when we get there, but that's why, as much as I want to see this phased approach come about, and I am going to support that approach, I want to make sure we've got the vehicle in place to recoup those funds first.
Commissioner Finnegan. Sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to
Tongue-tied.
add, just to give Mr. Rohrig a little hope, and I wanted to address it after the board meeting, but since now we're all kind of involved, I'd sent him an email this morning with the not right now in the use, but I wanted to get with you afterwards anyway, but for everybody, could we look into that to see, is that particular building necessary for the use right now? Is there another, I don't know if we have an extra spot, I don't know if it would even work, but I guess I'm asking if we could just look into.
There's never a cost for it to explore. So
Yes.
we'll explore it.
Thank you. So further looking into it.
I believe Animal Services just took in 110 cats on a hoarding case, so that's why.
That's what they
it's
said
doubtful.
when it's a hoarding case, that's what they use the building for. and that's overflow.
110 cats,
Yeah.
so, yeah. Okay, anything further, board? All right. Commissioner Bays, can you take over for a sec?
All right, we're moving on to regular business.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve E1A through S.
Second?
Any public comment? Any further comment by the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item E2, budget transfers.
Motion to approve E2, A, and B.
Second?
Any public comment? Any comment from the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item E3, budget resolutions.
Move to approve E3A and B.
Second.
Motion made by Schleybaugh, second by Finnegan. Any public comment? Seeing none, any further board comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 for now. Item E4, LPA 0410 Old Homosassa North Septic to Sewer DEP Grant Amendment.
Motion to approve E4.
Second.
Motion by Finnegan, seconded by Schleybaugh. Any board or any public comment? Any comments by the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Item E5, LAP 0130 Old Homosassa East Septic to Sewer DEP Grant Amendment 2.
Motion to approve E5.
Second.
Motion by Finnegan, second by Kennard. Any public comment? Seeing none, any board comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, can you catch us up on E2, E3, E4 with,
And E1.
And
I
E1.
missed one.
oh, you
Yes.
did, I'm sorry, and E1.
Aye for all, please.
Thank you.
No, I did vote for 5. I was back in time. Nice job on the speed round.
Yeah, well, you're up, back to E6.
All right, E6.
Motion to approve E6.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kennard, second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public comment? Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. E7.
Motion to approve E7.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schleybaugh, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment on E7? Is there any board discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to point out that staff worked very hard on this, and a lot of money spent on it, and no clients for that lift station.
All those in, anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve E8.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kennard, second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public comment on E8? Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve E9.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kennard, second by Commissioner Schleybaugh. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve E10, A, B, C, D, E, F.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schleybaugh, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment on E10? Any board discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve E11.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kennard, second by Commissioner Finnegan. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve E12, A and B.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Finnegan, second by Commissioner Schleybaugh. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve E13.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schleybaugh, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. E14.
Motion to approve E14.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Finnegan, second by Commissioner Schleybaugh by a nose. Any public comment? Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to approve E15,
A and B.
A and B.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schleybaugh, second by Commissioner Finnegan. Any public comment on E15? Any board discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Bays?
So in reviewing our document, is this coming back with an amount to be included for the amounts? Because right now it's left blank for dollars.
Carl can come forward, or Aaron.
Chair, Commissioners, Carlton Hall, Interim Public Works Director. So we're talking about the E15 for the lease.
Yes.
So in talking to Mr. Wilson, it's decided that it depends on who's coming and what they bring to the county as to what that number would be. So that's negotiable with whoever would come in for a lease.
And does this also address at the time of CO when they take possession of the hangar, or is it after 30 years?
Well, we're not talking, the one that you have there is for a hangar lease,
Just the lease?
just the hangar lease,
Okay.
not the ground lease. Right? We
Okay.
haven't actually, we've seen the ground lease documentation, but it hasn't been brought to the board.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anything further?
May I just
Yes.
add? So this is for hangars that already exist.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Anything further from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Howard?
Have Veronica come forward, please. I'm going to ask Veronica actually to clarify. I know it was brought up about the space needs analysis. The board has multiple items that you talk about almost every 2 weeks when we have a meeting. So that's captured under commission reports, but there's also some dated back to probably 2016, I think, when I looked at them. I didn't want to get rid of those. I wanted to continue to work through those. But each year you have a strategic planning session, and those become targets for action. So they also are continued tracked on the website as well. We're about 42% into that project now with ACOM. The judges are involved with that as well. They've been interviewed as we continue to work through that. We have a brand-new construction manager, which we're very happy about, that came on board with us. That's working with us aggressively with that too. That's also a top priority, obviously, the judges, court space and things like that. So we're looking forward soon, we hope, to come with a proposal to you. They're going parallel as we do this as well, but maybe you can comment more on that. You're working very close with ACOM.
Yes, absolutely. So as Steve mentioned, we do have a space needs analysis in progress with a consultant, that is ACOM. They are moving forward with their program according to their scope of our agreement with them. However, internally, I know that our DPW is working hard to identify solutions for this building, like you said, concurrently with that analysis. So we're expecting that full report to come to you in spring 2025, but hopefully solutions for the courthouse prior to that.
Will come prior to that. But we have about 38,000 square feet coming online when the VA builds out. So this is another challenge that we have. What do we do with that space? The best way to use that in the Lecanto area. But also for the future, what does this look like with our other partners, which are within this building, and as well as the commissioners and others. So there's a lot to it. It's first, I think, ever of a comprehensive approach. So we're trying to take a very comprehensive approach by doing this with ACOM. You all approved that previously. So I think it's going to be a really good report. They're going to come before you at some point and present. And during our strategic planning session, we'll actually bring them forward as well to tell you the results of that study.
And as mentioned prior, that is being tracked on a different page. If you put too many of these widgets on one page, it can get a little overburdened for your browser. So we do have our outstanding commission items are under the link that is on your agenda today. And then our targets for action, which are the goals that you set in January, those are available at citrusbocc.com/strategy. That'll redirect you right to those targets. So while I do understand that there could be some confusion with those being in two different places, the goal is ideally to complete those outstanding commission items, get those removed from the agenda, and just be tracking targets for action and strategic initiatives moving forward.
Thank you.
I know I was just here.
And just one more thing, just for, we'll be releasing an annual report in January that'll recap all the accomplishments over the last 12 months related to the targets for action as well as the commission items.
We've had a very successful year on that front, but we'll save that for January. Last meeting, I did go through the outstanding commission list in its entirety. Today, I am just going to hit on the items that have been updated since my last update with you guys. The landfill expansion was slightly delayed by Milton and Helene. Some of the deliverables for that project, including sodding, will be moving forward on a slightly backed up timeline, but we are currently 69% complete on that project, and I believe that the team is expecting to be able to buy that time back and still have this completed by the end of 2024. Core civic staffing is 59.68% as of Halloween. The vulnerability assessment, I did get an update from TBRPC, and the draft vulnerability assessment is being finalized now. The exposure and sensitivity analysis is currently in progress, and a public outreach for the draft VA will be held in the first quarter of 2025. For 2024, road resurfacing and preservation, the scoring of the vendor responses is in progress. Those are due on the 12th, and after we get those vendor scores completed, we will prepare the agenda item to bring that forward for approval to the board. SCOP resurfacing is about 20% complete. Per your question, Chair, at the last meeting, that date that I had was inaccurate. That date was for the 30-day closure. They are expecting substantial completion at the beginning of 2025. Total completion signed off by early February of 2025. But that road will be passable.
Thank you for the follow-up.
Absolutely. And the final update that I have is the impact fee study. It is currently in progress, and we expect to present an updated fee schedule for approval in March of 25.
Can't come soon enough.
Any questions?
Board, any questions, comments?
I do. The space needs, what page is that on?
You just navigate to Citrus, BOCC.com/strategy. That is where all of the targets for action, all of the annual initiatives are.
Okay, thank you.
And if you click on the Go to Project Dashboards button on that page or on the other page, it will take you to a landing page that has banners for each type of project. So when in doubt, go to that page.
It'll show you each step that's been completed and also what's next.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And outstanding commission items will just cease to exist once the list is done?
Ideally, yes, although
Okay.
I don't anticipate that will be immediate. Some
Yeah.
of them have a little bit to work through.
The whole clarity and communications thing.
It's difficult.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, Eric Landon, please come forward.
Hello, Commissioners. Eric Landon, Growth Management. I just wanted to have a friendly chat with you about the storm damage assessment. I don't have like a formal presentation because it's a moving target. So I didn't want to give you bad information. I wanted to give you most up to date. Really what I want to talk about is the impacts from Hurricane Helene. So the morning after the storm passed, we had an all hands on deck to do countywide damage assessment, which was like a windshield assessment. So I would say probably 45 out of our 75 staff were out in the field. And where I decided to go was the very end of Ozello Trail. And at the very end of Ozello Trail, I looked for a watermark because I was just curious how high the storm surge had been. And I found a house with a watermark on it. And I got out, and it was, I'm not a short guy, it was up here. So it was really shocking. So we knew that this was unprecedented, hadn't seen it in decades, a storm like this. So we did high water marks, the National Weather Service did high water marks, Florida Department of Emergency Management did high water marks all throughout the county. We enter all that information into GIS, and they determine hot spots of where houses were flooded. So out of all that information, we determined that approximately 7,000 houses had been affected, and that was us and the city of Crystal River. Out of those 7,000, we started going door to door and doing damage assessments with an app, a tool that the Florida Department of Emergency Management had approved. The week after the storm, we had a whole team from the state that was going to come and pick up where we left off so that we could go back to our normal jobs, and then Hurricane Milton hit. And that was the day that they were supposed to start, was the day that Hurricane Milton hit. So they turned around and went back home. So we were closed and recovering from Milton. We come back, and then the state decided to send another team. But anyway, long story short, it caused about a 2 or 3 week delay. After a storm hits, we're required to get substantial letters out within 90 days of the event. So that's where I'm getting to. Is out of the 7,000 houses that were affected, we determined after doing door-to-door assessments that there was about 2,000 that we were concerned have received substantial damage, and we need to really sharpen our pencils and do the math and see if out of those 2,000, how many have been substantially damaged. What substantially damaged means is it's going to cost you more than 50% the value of the structure to repair it. And what that means is you can't repair it if it's been substantially damaged. You either have to lift it up or tear it down and rebuild. And that's going to be really heartbreaking for a lot of folks, and it's going to lead to a lot of difficult decisions. But the consequences of us not doing that are so severe, we don't have an option. So if the county doesn't participate in this program, and it's part of the National Flood Insurance Program that we participate in, if we don't fully participate with their rules and FEMA's rules, then we get put on probation and we lose our ability to have flood insurance policies countywide. We can't have that because a lot of people, mortgages are dependent on flood insurance their entire lives, or in their houses that are dependent on flood insurance. So we can't, that's not an option. So we have to follow the rules. But we understand that this is going to be really difficult for those folks that were substantially damaged. Although we have 2,000 letters that are going to go out in the next 2 to 3 weeks, that doesn't mean that 2,000 houses were substantially damaged, but they've sustained enough damage where it concerns us, where we need to do the math and figure out if that's the case or not. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Is we went from the windshield assessment to going door to door, determining which ones really need to be honed in on, and we're honing in on those as we speak. They're doing a couple hundred a day. And then the letters will probably start going out the end of this week, have to be done by the end of the month in order to meet the deadlines. So under normal, if there wasn't a hurricane 10 days after the first hurricane, people probably would already have their letters, but we got set back a couple of weeks. So those letters are going out now. Anyway, I know that there's a lot of concern in the community. I've been flooded before. I've done this a million times. I know what I'm doing. I'll just clean it up. Don't worry about me. Nothing to see here. And normally that's the case, but the penalties are so severe if we don't follow through. But we have to go by the rules. So
Point of clarification, so if you own your home outright, there's no mortgage, and you self-insure, you don't have flood insurance, and you're still not allowed to fix your house?
if you're substantially damaged, no.
Because it'll impact the entire county.
Correct.
Flood insurance. Okay, that sticks in my craw quite a bit, but okay.
So we're doing everything we can to get the message out. So Craig Dalton and I recorded a video a couple weeks ago and put it on the county's Facebook page. It's on the county YouTube page. There's a lot of tax implications as well, especially if that's your homesteaded property. What if I can't live there? What if it's uninhabitable? How does that affect my taxes? The property appraiser is ready for that. He has a self-reporting website. You can put your information in there. He'll come to assess your property, and then he'll ensure that you keep your homestead, or even account for the fact that your house is uninhabitable for a certain period of time. I don't want to speak for him, but he's handling that part. We're handling the part as far as making that determination whether or not you've been substantially damaged. If you get a letter, if you haven't gotten a letter yet but you fear you might, call us. Just call our office. We have a call center. You'll get a human on the other end in less than 2 minutes. They'll direct you in the right direction depending upon what your particular question is. I hate to make blanket statements for the community as a whole or for anything west of 19 as a whole, because every property is unique, every situation is unique. You know, your neighbor may have gotten 3 feet of water, but you may have only gotten 2 feet of water. That can dramatically affect how your house was affected. So I don't want to say if this happened in your neighborhood, then this is going to be the end result, because I don't know that. So everybody, please just call us,
And you'll do the number for those of you who are listening. If you want the number, he'll say it in a minute. So grab paper and pen. But what Mr. Landon and I discussed yesterday too is that the hard part is that a lot of people jump right into, they want to get back in their homes, and maybe they've done it before, so they start replacing wallboard and working on electrical and so forth, and they're doing it without permits. But the problem is that you can't do that. And so the worst case scenario is that they're spending time, money, emotion, and everything fixing a house that is going to be essentially condemned. And it kills me. That was a very difficult conversation, but unfortunately, it's the federal rules.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Eric,
Did I just, before you start, you winced. Did I say something wrong?
No, I realized
Incorrect.
I should have the main building department's phone line, which I don't. I have my phone number, so I was asking Cheryl to help me find that phone.
I'll stall you for
Yeah,
a
thank you.
couple minutes while I get you that phone number. So the county is going out and assessing, and they're looking at the outside of homes. And at this point, the outside may look okay. So how, is there anything that you're looking at that determines a substantial amount of damage? Is it the amount of feet that has,
In this particular
so
storm.
you may not see the inside, but if you know, okay, on the outside, it got 3 feet, even though
Right.
we can't see inside, we know what to assume.
Correct. So there's a number of ways that we can reach that conclusion. Is we were out there 12 hours after the storm, so we know how high the water was in most places. And then people have been self-reporting, like on the PA's website. Some people, when we knock, they don't answer. Other people do. So you can kind of start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. If your neighbor at the same elevation as you had this many feet of water, and then your neighbor on the other side, same elevation, so you can kind of start piecing it together. If we're wrong, we're wrong, and if you have evidence otherwise that we're incorrect, great. So
there's some sort of an appeals process.
There is
for
an appeal
someone.
process.
Okay. And then you said you were out 12 hours, but there were still, I mean, there were streets you couldn't get on 12 hours later.
Yeah, so we made we caused our fleet manager great concern because we were driving through salt water. We were, even when the roads were closed, we were out there the best that we could. And then we partnered with the city of Crystal River, and they had teams go with us as well.
And you also, Commissioner Schlebaum, are you done?
I can be for now.
Okay. Sorry, I'm getting excited about this topic. You did say a number of people are just flat out relieved because they want to move on and build up and all of that.
Some people
So
are ready. It's the fourth hurricane in 2 years, and they've had enough.
yeah, I know my family was delighted to go up after 3 floods. Yes? And then
Something that you
Commissioner
just said, because they were delighted that it was substantially damaged and they couldn't build. Is there extra help then? I mean, I know our program, which I have sent word to some of you, Michelle Alford and her team, amazing. I have given her name and contact information to more people than I can count on one hand right now, and she never fails. They have been going above and beyond, in my opinion, so that's wonderful. So if they're substantially damaged and they can't build as it is, even going up sometimes, and they may not qualify for that, so if they don't qualify or if it's out of their realm, what happens to them financially with their property?
They have lots of options that I'm not familiar with or the expert on. Michelle's office is much more familiar with the different grant programs and who's eligible and who isn't and how much money you can get and what the match is. So fortunately, she's the expert in that. So we kind of work in tandem. I deliver the bad news. Michelle delivers some hope, and then and then on the back end, we'll permit whatever option that the property owner chooses. I did want to note that, sometimes people will say, "Well, I just want to replace my air conditioner." We had one the other day. I just want to get my air conditioner running back in my house, and we turned that permit down because that property was substantially damaged. We don't want you to spend $5,000-$10,000 on a new air conditioning system, and then you get new, thousands of dollars in cabinets and drywall and flooring, just to come to find out that you're substantially damaged and all that money was wasted. So we're stopping everyone, although it's bad news, we're stopping them on the front end before they make any progress on the renovations.
Commissioner Schlebaum?
You've answered most of my questions, but on determining the value and the calculated damages, you have a worksheet. Have you sent those out to the contractors we have on file, the subcontractors?
So we're pulling every email address from every contractor that's submitted an application with us, and we're breaking it out by trades, and those emails will be going out this week as well.
Okay. And normally, drywall, do they have to pull a permit to do drywall?
I always say call before. So
But, I mean, if it wasn't a storm-related flood,
if it wasn't in a flood zone, so flood zone permitting is much more restrictive, especially if you're working below a flood zone. So
Right.
In order to build in a flood zone today, you have to be 1 foot above base flood. Many of those houses are below base flood, so any work you do that's actually down within a flood zone has to be permitted. So it's very unusual for someone just to do some drywall. Usually, you probably do some electrical and you'll probably do some structural. So I always I won't ever make a blanket statement, and you don't need a permit for that. Just call us and
Well, what I'm afraid of is normally, if you're getting cabinetry, you're not pulling a permit, correct?
I always, yeah.
I know you, I know they should, but I think that
You tried to catch me.
historically, no. No, I'm trying to just show you a different angle, that these people are, they're trying to survive. They're pulling everything down. They're doing the demo themselves. They're maybe even doing a lot of the work themselves, and just so that they can have a room to sleep in or whatever. And then they've done all this work, and then they need the air conditioning, they need the electrical or something that triggers that permit, but they've already invested money into it. I've racked my brain trying to figure out a way to stop that from happening, but the next day they were demoing. We saw it. And so now we have these conditions we have to be under because it will really affect us as a county. And I just feel I haven't found a solution, so I'm hoping you can find a solution, because I think that this is going to be devastating for people. And I'm a native Floridian, and as Floridians, we just buckle down and keep moving. And I'm afraid I'm going to say more than 50%. And they've already invested quite a bit of money. And how do we help this situation?
Yeah, and absolutely understand there's no malicious intent, someone trying to repair damage in their home.
Yeah.
And then we're not going to come after you for not pulling a building permit. The reason really why we're stressing to call us and ask about building permits is so we can tell you no before you get started. We're really trying to help. And I wanted to also mention that for storm-related damage, we've waived all the permit fees. So all it's going to cost you is the 2 minutes to make the phone call to find out.
And I know that. I'm so thankful that you're here and what you've done. 2 years you've come on board, you've made a huge difference in that department. What I'm just saying is I was trying to figure out how to get the word out, like through the Builders Alliance, subcontractors, and I'm sure you've done all that. I just wanted to make sure you have done that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes. Yes. So like I say, we've been pushing stuff on Facebook, on the county's YouTube page. We're sending emails out. Where, anytime someone applies for any kind of permit in a flood zone, we've been saying, time out, let's talk about it. Anything you can do to help spread the word. Okay. It's really difficult because we were out there while people were literally hauling all their belongings to the curb to get picked up, to be taken to the dump. So the last person they want to see is Eric in a county truck saying, how much water did you get in there? So you have to walk the fine line of giving people the opportunity to take a breath and mourn the loss of all the things that they lost in the storm. But yet, I know they're anxious to get back. But we want, it's important to spread that word that any money you spend might be wasted money, and any time that you take might be wasted time. It's a difficult balance trying to let people grieve their loss, but also help them move forward.
And the second part of this, and you did address it by there is a process to petition. There wasn't really any rhyme or reason with the storm, Helene. Some homes were completely flooded, and other homes right there or in the neighborhood didn't get any flooding. So how do they prove they didn't get the flooding? I mean, other than a claim, but I'm just saying, you might assume that house did because all the other houses did.
Correct. So when you get the letter, there'll be a calculation of how we arrived at that 50%. Okay. And then there'll be several options, one of which is an appeal process where if we totally missed it, then there's a way for you to appeal that decision.
Good. Well, thank you. And Can you get those letters out soon? I mean, absolutely. Do you have a timeline?
We're starting them at the end of this week, and then we have a drop dead date by the end of the month. But in the meantime, if you're worried, concerned, don't know, just call and ask us, and I have the number. It's 352-527-0200. 5310. 53.
352.
527 5310. And like I say, in less than 2 minutes, you'll have a live person to talk to at our call center, and they can direct you to the right person. We have, and let me brag on our staff just for a moment, we have 5 certified floodplain managers. I think that's probably very unusual for a community of our size. We're ranked 5 we're on the community rating system, which is extremely rare for a community of our size. I want to say that we're in the top 5% of the entire state as far as our participation in the flood program. And that saves county taxpayers over $1 million every year by our participation. So we can't go from being one of the best in the state to not participating fully and putting people's policies at risk.
There's some articles out there on Lee County where they put them on probation and then tried to take that community rating system discount away from that community as well as other things. So this is just not specific to citrus. It's a statewide issue.
And Commissioner Schleybaugh, this was my first turn as chair, so my first turn on emergency management. And so I think that overall team did an amazing job with back-to-back hurricanes. The county, I mean, gosh, you guys, county staff and all the other associated agencies did a tremendous job, but there's no doubt that having them 2 weeks apart was almost unfathomable. I mean, such major hurricanes. And so there's certainly going to be, it's forced some reckoning on areas to improve, I think, as well, in emergency management, communications, and so forth, and my specialty. So I think that having our PIO department and associated other agency PIOs put out the word well ahead of time at the beginning of hurricane season, when people are not an emotional wreck because they've just lost everything, that to just get it ingrained in people that if you get substantially flooded, do not spend money on your home.
And in the past, it wasn't a big deal because you get 3 inches of water, but we're talking 5 feet of water this time. So that it's unlike any storm.
I think the storm surge was like 10 feet in Crystal River. It was nuts. So anyway, Commissioner Bays, you had something?
Yes, Eric, thank you for all that information. But here would be one of my concerns, and it may not be a bad idea to think about potentially having a workshop on this sometime, bringing your group, Michelle's group, and so that the citizens can come in. So let's just assume somebody has substantially damaged and they can't afford to fix that house. They don't even have the money to demo it. So now is there going to be a condemned notice that's going to go on that house?
We actually are running into that from storm damage from Idalia, where people are either unable to or unwilling to or have to walk away from a property, and ultimately they end up in the code enforcement process where we determine the structure is unsafe. Windows, doors have been blown out of it due to storm surge or just neglect, and then the county has to initiate the demolition process.
And that, to me, I mean, when we're talking 2,000 houses potentially, this could be devastating to the community and the surrounding community, houses around it, because you're going to have lights off, no air not mowed, potential squatters. I mean, the list compounds pretty fast.
Absolutely.
And I think that, this is something that, as you get these letters out and you make this assessment, I think it would be smart of this board to have a workshop and really talk through the circumstances.
Absolutely. And I spoke with one of your fellow commissioners, I think a day or two ago, about a house damaged from last year's hurricane cycle that is going through that exact scenario. For whatever reason, the repairs haven't been done, and the neighbors are tired of it sitting there, half destroyed. And we've initiated a code enforcement process on that. But that's one So you multiply that by a factor of 200 or 500, and you're right, it's a long journey.
And I've talked a little with Michelle about one of the grants, the raising, and that's just for a maximum of $200,000. So it's a 75-25 split, and that doesn't go very far. And a lot of times, if these are repetitive flood houses, structurally, they can't be raised. And some of the problems that we faced in the past, even when this has happened, they're now into a situation, the overrides and the cost, the people living there, they can't afford the taxes and the insurance, and now they're into something they can't afford. So the problems keep compounding, and I think it's a bigger discussion than just this myopic conversation that we're having at this moment. But I think keeping us informed about what you find from these letters that are going out, and when you have that cumulative knowledge back, then maybe we have a bigger conversation and a workshop.
Sure, and I'll be happy to come back, on our December 10th meeting and say, okay, this many letters went out, and it was determined that this many houses were substantially damaged, and maybe what the options are for those folks that received that news.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Kennard.
Yes, Eric, thank you for the information. I saw the video on Facebook with you and Craig Dalton. Very well done. My only suggestion is maybe a column in the newspaper, something brief, a short read on what substantial damage looks like in terms of where do you go from here, what should you do. Just a quick read for those people that are getting it. What the county is up to. Obviously, there's no way around it that by the county sending these letters out, we're the target. I mean, we're the bad guy. It's not that not an enviable position to be in, but as Commissioner Bays had said, that many of these houses, and you as well, that this is a repetitive thing. They've been flooded. Many of them been flooded 2 and 3 times. The neighborhood that I live in, many of the lots are very, very low elevation, and I can tell you that once those homes are substantially damaged or not abandoned, but are just sitting there rotting from storms a year ago, the neighbors start questioning, what's happening with this house? What is the county doing? Just this week, I got an email from somebody very frustrated with commercial properties that are falling into disrepair. Well, the neighbors are patient to a point with homes that have been badly damaged by these floods. And then after they catch their proverbial breath, right, that they start going, all right, so what's the next step? When is X doing something with this property? So it's not going to be an easy discussion for sure. Perhaps a workshop or an open house with the parties involved, certainly your department, Michelle Alford, people there to answer questions for those people that do get the letters. Where do I turn to? Well, you need to go over and talk with Eric. Or, if you haven't called him, you need to go over and talk with his folks there. Or, the next step is talk with Michelle Alford or whoever else needs to be in there in that kind of open house. That may give them more opportunity to speak directly with the people that they want rather than 5 of us up here chattering on.
You're right, and to add to your point and Commissioner Bays' point, an abandoned house, the problems start compounding really fast, where you have squatters, you have substance abuse issues, you have, we have a lady that emails us almost every week about her neighbor's house that was affected, and, she has rats coming into her yard every day because of the house next door that's abandoned. So it spirals really fast. It only takes a few weeks or a few months, and you got a real problem in a neighborhood.
That sounds like one that I sent you, the rats.
Yeah, the rat was this big in the picture, yeah. I mean, like a fishing story is.
Put a saddle on that thing.
Yeah.
There was, I guess not to get into storytelling, but there was a house, I believe it was it Beverly Hills, that we ended up tearing down because
Yes.
it
And
was
then the rats.
so infested with rats.
Hundreds.
And it's,
No, that was the 10-year-old girl on the sofa and the animals all caged and
I don't know, there
excrement
was,
everywhere and rats went everywhere. It was horrible.
anyway, I remember we
There were
tore.
rats all over the neighborhood after that.
Yeah, ended up tearing one down because it had gotten so bad. But anyway, the longer that these houses sit there, and I mean, obviously you feel horrible for the people this happened to, but that's part of the price, part of the risk of living on the water.
So one more time before I go.
Understand it well.
352-527-5310. If you have any questions, call and we'll get you an answer.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
would it be helpful if I also give the citation for our floodplain management ordinance so that if anyone wanted to look up, they could have that?
Sure.
All right, so it's Chapter 18, Article 6. Chapter 18, Article 6, that's got our floodplain
So what would
regulation.
what would they Google specifically?
Citrus County floodplain management regulations. And it gives the definition in there of what is applicable. And thanks to Eric yesterday, reminded me that I should probably review that again. And the definition is quite,
Beg your pardon?
the definition
right.
is quite
Kidding.
extensive. And the one thing that I found interesting is the words are alteration or remodeling. Those are very broad words. So when we talk about just drywall or tile or, just about anything would fit in those two words.
And again, what we are doing is preserving our good status with FEMA to protect all citizens that have, or could possibly be flooded. So, Commissioner Finnegan, you turned your light on?
I was just making sure it was chapter 18.
Yeah.
Article 6, chapter 18.
Did I say it wrong?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Eric. Okay, G2.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to deny A and B, and the reason being is because there needs to be an MSBU in place before any more money goes out.
I'll second.
Madam Attorney, do you want to weigh in on that? I believe an MSBU cannot be done unless there is a clear benefit.
It is true that an MSBU cannot be instituted until there is a clear benefit, but I don't know that those two questions go together. I think the motion is they don't want to spend the money until it, well, I don't, maybe they can clarify, but I think those two things are different.
BU to you?
No, it's a B, like you can't do an MSBU unless you have a study or something that shows the benefit to each property that you intend to put the MSBU over. So that is a correct statement, but I don't know if that's the same thing as their motion.
Well, she's denying, she was making a motion to deny this because I believe she wants to move forward with an MSBU, as does Commissioner Kennard, for the 19,950 for the section that we would be starting on. The issue is that if we did not have that ability to do for the 35,000, why would we have the ability to do that now? Because we discussed it back then. The 35,000, we couldn't do an MSBU for just the engineering plan because there's no benefit to an engineering plan.
Correct, but there's many steps in between what's being proposed and then the eventual MSBU. I don't know if the motion maker meant do an MSBU first, or she's just saying at this time.
Commissioner Schleba?
I think it's out of order, and I made a motion to deny it. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was just trying to get clarity before we vote, that's all. Would anyone like to speak from the public? Motion by Commissioner Schleba to deny, second by Commissioner Kennard. Okay, seeing none, board discussion?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Bays.
So the original study that we had where they came up with $109,000, that's, so now what you're telling me is we're throwing that out so that we can do it by sections? Is that the purpose of this, to do it in phases as opposed to the whole thing, and then?
Do you want me to dive in? Since all this is in my head.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd like to know from staff, I mean,
That was the meeting that we had. This was discussed. That's how this came about, was a meeting that we had with the citizens within IV4.
but we had a study previously.
Correct.
That said 109,000.
Yes.
Now we're gonna do it in phases, and this is to determine the cost of what it would be per lot in phases. But theoretically, how could it change the cost per lot?
Maybe if Ken could come forward, let me just, let him, from an engineering perspective.
Sure, Ken Cheek, Water Resources Director and Interim County Engineer. I will tell you, typically, a larger project like what was originally proposed on a per lot basis will give you a better cost. There are some specifics to this area that we're proposing now that may make it less expensive, but those costs are gonna have to be picked up as you go further down the hill with other phases. So I'm not sure it's gonna move the bar too much either way if you do a smaller project. I will say this was intended to be a standalone project. So the drainage was not gonna be an overall drainage MSBU. It was all gonna be a standalone project with the drainage incorporated into this area. So that was the proposal that we were looking for here, because again, if you're gonna tie all those improvements to just those 125 lots that would be in there, the drainage need to be with it. If you try to build the drainage as a standalone project, there's some issues with that because all the roads and swales and everything that would go along with it on all those roads are part of the drainage system. How do you break that out of the drainage MSBU and put it into the roadway MSBU? So we felt like I heard your comments and I knew you wanted to do it that way. I think it might be difficult to do it that way. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you couldn't. I will say, and I know there's a lot of discussion about it, when we prepare these costs up front, those are usually worst-case scenario costs. We have a pretty good track record of coming in below that. But in the end, we just tabulate all the costs, and whatever those final costs are, that's what goes into the MSBU. So even if we implement it at a number that would look like 109,000 per lot, when we get done, it is what we adjust that MSBU to the actual cost. So
As long as it's that or lower,
If the,
right?
we can adjust it either way.
You can adjust up?
Sure.
Okay.
In my tenure, I don't remember one that we ever did, but I'm not saying there wasn't one. Lost my train of thought.
May I? Worst case scenario, 109,000. Even on the lower end, how much lower on average have you ever seen these come in? 10%, 20%?
And again, I did not prepare the initial numbers for this one. Ones that I've been involved in, I think we're typically in the 10% range above. That's kind of what we shoot for, to be honest with you. The wild card with this project, quite frankly, is the property acquisition. If we could acquire it for what the property appraiser says it's worth today, which is less than what people paid for those, from what I've seen in most cases, and that was, not that long ago that they acquired it. You might see a lower number, but if we have to go through the whole eminent domain process, I think that's what these numbers were based on, and that's a safe number that we can rely on. You might look at that higher number.
Well, and the reason I'm asking these questions is I believe that there is a rule that you couldn't implement a $109,000 MSBU onto these property owners based on the value of their homes, because it's about 50% of their assessed value.
I'm not aware of that, if there is.
There's a rule that says you can't force an MSBU that would devastate their financial wherewithal.
I'm happy to look and see if, I'm happy to look into that. As I sit here, I'm not aware of a rule that says that.
May I chime in on something since you?
Can I have 1 second to
Well,
finish up?
it was just to
Yeah.
answer your question, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, that's a huge concern to me. I mean, I don't know how you would ever implement $109,000 per lot out there. That's one. Number two, even if they said, yes, go for it today, I don't think the county has the bonding power to do that. So that's, that's a two-prong phase for me that leads me to go, I'm not sure why we're continuing to go down this. One, nobody can afford the $109,000, nor does it make sense. And two, we couldn't afford to bond it. So those are my two thoughts.
I think that was maybe part of the reason for phasing, was the fact that it would come in with us, do it in smaller phases so we wouldn't have to bond the whole project, but.
What percentage of the total properties is included in phase one?
This is 125 lots. I don't have the total number, but just on, thinking about the map in the area, because I thought about that when I was sitting back there. I should have had those numbers for you. So you're right up the way I was thinking earlier. I think this would encompass somewhere between like 25% and 30%. So you're looking at probably 2 or 3 more phases to get throughout the entire area. And for those listening, when we met with them, I think you guys know they asked me to go out there and drive through. I did do that. I will tell you these 3 roads that we're proposing are probably where, at least from a windshield survey, looks like the majority of the occupied houses are on these 3 roads. They are all 3 of the more passable roads. We were in a 4-wheel drive truck, but you could have driven a lesser vehicle on these roads. You get further south in there, we almost got stuck in a big 4-wheel drive truck. So it gets a lot rougher when you go south. And there were some houses under construction down there. I can't tell you how they were getting the construction materials there. They must have been flying them in by helicopter, because I don't know how they were getting there. We couldn't even get to them in a 4-wheel drive.
So, this is all in my head from doing the letter and trying to live a solution for the last 3.5 years. My pencil math, based on the original preliminary engineering plan that came up with 109,000, is that if we were able to get the land for free, it would be about 45,000 per lot. So if we get the land for regular market value, which would be 1/3 of what that 60,000 lift is, then you're looking, and that's not with a 25% extra to try to get people to do it without having to condemn it, then you're looking at 65 to 70 if you just buy them at current market rates, 65 to 70,000 per lot versus 109. This is back of the napkin math, but it's at least somewhere in the realm of ballpark. And 9 to 12 million total cost to bond versus 30, because that's going off of the 35 million that it would have been to bond before.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I did the back of the napkin math too, and we were on the same page, and that's my concern. And when I asked staff yesterday, out of those 125 houses, that's not going to share the expense. It's not going to bring it down. 8 of those, projecting, maybe not 8, maybe more, maybe less, but out of the 125 people that would help contribute to this part of the MSBU, properties would be taking off of that because they need it for the drainage. Right, so even the only thing this will help is to bond it, in my opinion. And I think some staff would concur with that, because I talked to a group of them yesterday. So we're still at a very, very high MSBU per property owner. It's just you can start a phase and the county could afford to bond it. This is why I would vote no on this, because I think what they are hoping for, the IV4 people, is to do this smaller phase and bring the assessment down and move forward. But the assessment's not gonna come down. I mean, maybe, like you said, maybe 10%, but it's not gonna come down to even 30, 40,000, 60,000. It's gonna be probably closer to that 100,000. I don't even know that they'd be good with 80,000. You know, we say that's the only solution is the MSBU. And then where we'd start, where the houses are, isn't the worst part of the road. So I'm not sure this is the way to go. We probably should ask you questions, not from the dais, but MSBU, you say that's the only solution, and that maybe is the only solution, but when I met with them, I asked, you know, all of these people, are they all upset? Could they all get together and maybe form some sort of a community unit? I don't know if that would be an HOA or something, and take over, do what they want with the roads. I don't know if any of that's possible, and we can talk later, but it seems like our solution is quite expensive. And if the board does want the MSBU, put it before us, we vote for it, I personally would like to see some sort of a survey or a petition go out and ask, you know, is this something you want in your community? You know, hey, if the majority of the community says, even if it's $100,000, we want to move forward with it, that would put us in a much better position. But they may not, and more permits are being sought after, and after all of this, and new houses are being built, and some are okay with the situation that they're in. Obviously, there's some that's not, so I don't know what the ratio of that is at this point, but there's a lot of houses out there, and I would have to really hear from that community that they would want this kind of a burden on their tax bill.
Commissioner Kennard?
Yeah, Ken, you hit the nail on the head. The reason that I first proposed the phased approach was because the county can't afford to bond the whole thing. And so I think I actually threw it out there on the dais and said, you know, what about if we did a phased approach or a staged approach? So that was the impetus behind even bringing that up. So as I understand it, what you're saying is that if this first phase were to be done as planned, that it would be the roads, it would be the drainage for that specific, those three roads.
Correct.
And then when there would be future phases, those future phases would incorporate drainage specifically for that phase part of it. So everybody's getting their own kind of drainage system. Correct. But we're also hearing that it really doesn't move the needle in terms of the final price tag per property is going to end up in that $100,000 range, which 100 to 109, maybe it goes to 115, maybe it goes higher. Let's hope not. I think we're all hoping for a fraction of that number, but it is what it is. Coming in, if the board does not have the appetite, and it certainly does not seem as though we do, if the board does not have the appetite to vote on this $109,000 MSBU, which, as we know now, we can't bond that much anyway. So then, yeah, the $35,000 was wasted tax money. That money's gone. I doubt that we'll ever recoup that. And that study, I don't think, is ever going to be used. So that was not money well spent. I'm glad that it looks like we're not going to approve this, because I don't believe this is money well spent, and I don't believe there's any way that we recover that. When I said that the MSBU is the solution, maybe I just wasn't clear enough yet. It's the only solution that has surfaced that solves this problem. Unless a future board were to step forward and go completely off the deep end and say, county taxpayers are going to pick up the bill for this, which I would be a no on that one. I think most of us would be. There may be another solution, but it just hasn't surfaced. I don't know if an after the fact CDD, something like that, is a possibility. Those are typically put into place before a community is developed to build their roads, to build their drainage, to build out all the infrastructure. Possibly if a homeowners association were formed, I don't know if they have the ability to put something like that into place and then assesses each property owner on an annual basis for retroactively constructing their neighborhood infrastructure. But I don't know if that's a possibility after the fact or not. But, if it is, then there's another option. It's not a cheap one. None of them are going to be inexpensive. But anyway.
My understanding is that you cannot do an HOA after the fact because it's deed restrictions and people have bought in with no deed restrictions is the problem. Commissioner Bays?
This is probably no fault of yours, but this is probably one of the most frustrating things that I think I've ever encountered in the time that I've been involved as a county commissioner. Because none of this building really started taking place till about 2019. And how we got here to that, I don't understand. Swift Mud, they didn't have requirements for an ERP. They didn't have requirements for drainage. I mean, the laundry list is long on this. And you had somebody that came in and bought lots. It's not a developer. He just bought lots. He owns most of these lots. I think he has rentals in there. He has multiple corporations. And frankly, I'm a little riffed at the fact that we turned this over to the Attorney General's office to be investigated. Now it's with the FDLE. I'm not sure what the FDLE is going to say or do about any of it. To me, it seems like this should have stayed with the Attorney General's office. They should have investigated it. It should have, I think there's this person who bought these lots has some responsibility in this. So again, I don't know why we're 10, 11 months down the road. We have no answers, no updates, no time frame. We're not being given any information. And I'm frustrated because I don't think it is all of these people's fault in Inverness Village 4. I think they bought on some good faith as the time has gone on, and they can see, and especially on these really bad roads, I don't know why they're buying there, but they are. Maybe some, I hear a lot people are buying sight unseen. But this is frustrating to say, and we also know that there's bad acting going on when you're going to go in, you're going to do condemnation out of this. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to force $109,000 MSBU on these people, even if we could afford to bond it, because I don't think it makes sense. But I would like staff, legal, the attorney or the administrator, I would like somebody to go back to the Attorney General and find out what is going on. Why did they turn it over? I want some answers. It's been long enough. I mean, give us a status report, an update, tell us something. But just to keep us on the hook and say they're talking to people, everybody I've talked to, nobody's heard anything from them. You might have talked to them, but it doesn't sound like they give you much more information either. And
he did.
I mean, we are responsible to the citizens just as the people in Tallahassee are. And we need some information to go on. It's not, and I'm not directing that at you, I'm saying that in general. So I think there's certainly some some responsibility to be shared in this whole situation.
If I may make a suggestion, you need to call the investigator and get a briefing.
I will.
Commissioner Schlebaugh.
Okay, I have a motion and I got a second. And the reason also I want to add is I agree with what Commissioner Bays is saying. And I think that even though it is grueling to wait for the investigation, that needs to happen. Because I don't feel comfortable making these people pay when there could be a solution. We just have to be patient, which is a very hard thing to say. Commissioner Bays, Commissioner Davis and I got this right when we joined the board, and we inherited this problem. And I would like to call the vote.
I want to make one more comment. Okay.
May I also
Yes.
say something when you're? I just want to make sure that you don't feel like I was being non-responsive. I agree that the 35,000 and if the 20,000 were to be spent, that those could be rolled into an MSBU. You know, if you all did a study and determined an MSBU was correct.
Yes, but the point that Commissioner Kennard, I believe, was making is that it could be a staged MSBU, so we could do the MSBU for 21,000 or 19,000 something separately. And that was, I was told we could not do that for the 35,000. To do it just a standalone MSBU, we do nothing else after that, because it comes out that it's going to be some unbelievable amount of money, like the 109,000, that we don't go forward with a forced MSBU.
Yeah, you can't do you can't collect the $35,000 back if you don't do the MSBU. I agree with that.
Correct, but no, you're still not following.
I'm
He was
sorry,
saying, he was saying do an MSBU for 21,000, period, full stop, whether we go beyond that or not.
Oh, I
Just to
didn't-
pay for that study, and I was told we could not do that.
That's absolutely correct. You
Okay,
cannot do
thank
that,
you.
but that's not what I thought he was saying. So
Okay.
there's that. And the only other thing is, since I'm not familiar with the criteria that Commissioner Bays is talking about that caps it at a certain amount, I don't, like, even if you came back and it was 50,000 or 60,000, I don't know whether that's consistent with whatever that criteria is. I don't know.
In my more back of the napkin math, we had talked about before with prior administration, before Mr. Howard, and before Ms. Doran running the budget department, we had talked about potentially doing a 20-year MSBU to make it a little more affordable for folks. But I'm still looking at back of the napkin math of at 10 years, like if it's a 10-year MSBU, $1,000 a month, plus or minus 250 bucks. You know, and cut that down by almost half if you do 20 years. And so that's what's not palatable for any of us, is to bankrupt the neighborhood. And Commissioner Finnegan?
Yeah,
And then we
I
do
know
need
you
to
had
wrap
said
it up.
something about the HOA and deed restrictions, and I just wanted to say, that's why I said I don't know that HOA is the right term. And our attorney, I'm sure, can tell us even at a later time. I do know there's some sort of an agreement that's not deed restrictions, that's not the community getting together, making up rules. It's just some sort of a maintenance agreement that everyone would agree on. And I don't know, but I'm just, if we're throwing out solutions, you could do that separately than the HOA.
Went down that rabbit hole a long time
you?
ago, yes.
So
yes.
no HOA, but do a home, like a maintenance agreement?
And no, none of it. I went down every dang rabbit hole. If you find a new rabbit hole, I will dive down it, but I've been down that one.
That was my rabbit hole for you to dive down.
My handy dandy pad, I did go back, and Commissioner Davis, I have A, B, C, D of options that you presented to me back when Mary was here. And it was, you know, county vacate, restrictive covenants, cannot replat, private road maintenance. So I can talk to you about those things that we researched before.
Okay.
So
We're trying.
Chair, can I just very briefly address the higher cost for this? We all know you could go buy a lot with roads and drainage somewhere else in the county for a much lower cost than $109,000. Why is it so expensive here? the most expensive, there's a reason why developers build those things before they build houses, because the way to do it is to do that first, because you can do mass grading. It's much simpler to install all those things. To come after the fact when house is already built and have to basically address the slab elevation and driveway for every house individually as you work through it, it is much more difficult from an engineering standpoint, much more difficult from a construction standpoint. So, you know, it's
And
the worst
condemnation.
case scenario. There is no simple solution to it for that reason. So I just wanted to address it. We know this is higher than you would get if you went and bought a lot somewhere else, but that's the reason why, because both the engineering and construction are way more complicated.
Thank you, Mr. Cheek.
Sure.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Of opposing it? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Right now, the denial passes 4-0, and we'll get Commissioner Schleiball when she comes back. I could feel the eye rolling in the back. I believe you would be an aye, yes? 5-0. Motion to deny passes unanimously. All right, G3.
Carl.
Please bring us some happy news after that.
Yes. Carlton Hall, Interim Public Works Director. So I'll give you an update on the road resurfacing. Some of this changed as in the last couple of days. For localized repairs, they have completed the Dunklin, Halls River, 486 there in front of Publix as well as Venable. And we are waiting on a schedule from Pave Right for the 491 section that we had the additional funds provided for at the last meeting. For the fiscal year 23-24 resurfacing, District 3, I was informed this morning, is 50% complete. All of Beverly Hills is done. All of Pine Ridge is complete, and they are in Citrus Springs finishing up as we speak. The expected complete target date on that would be December 3rd. Okay. Districts 1, 2, 4, and 5 are already put through as far as the schedule. So those dates are: notice to proceed was given on October 21st. A substantial completion is anticipated March 14th, and the final completion is anticipated on April 11th, and that's districts 1, 2, 4, and 5. As far as full depth reclamation, the roads that were picked for that are a little ahead of schedule. They were expected to have final completion on 1/14, and now they're giving us dates of December 9th to have that completed. And as far as I know, Hancock Road is completely done, and they're moving on to the others as we speak. For the SCOP project that we have going on right now for Duncan Field, again, that is a 30-day road closure that started on October 17th and expected to be opened on November 16th. And they are working on that road from behind the shopping center Publix, right at that curve, all the way down to the end of that street. For the pavement management program, that was approved today, so we'll be working with them to get that program started. They'll come out and do the assessment of all those roads. We'll get a very detailed report on all the county roads, and then we'll also have a plan put together based on the software that we're going to implement with that program that'll give us a pavement condition index that we are currently at, and it'll help us in the future years to be able to see how we want to fund the pavement program based on where we want our pavement condition index to be. So it'll be a lot more detailed than what we're currently using. Resurfacing for fiscal year 24-25, proposals are in and they're under evaluation. We should have that completed by November 12th. We'll bring that to the board for award. Fiscal year 25, we actually have a list of streets that are being bid to go out for resurfacing. And we have 3 bidders that have turned in paperwork on that.
Okay. Commissioners, anything?
I just have one question. So if I'll just use District 3, I guess, as an example. So when I look at your 25 projection, the way the roads are in there, so there's Pine Ridge, then Citrus Springs, then back to Pine Ridge. My question is, so when you're going into Pine Ridge and you're going to pave these streets or you're gonna do Citrus Springs, when I look at our contracts, one of the biggest expenses is mobilization. So it seems like we're bouncing all over the place.
Well, we're not necessarily doing the roads in the order that are on that list. The list is brought out to be worst, starting at the top, but it's not the order that we're actually doing them. If they're gonna be in Pine Ridge, they're gonna mobilize and they're gonna do as many streets as they can at one time. So they're working on as a district, but not in a specific order that we supply them.
And I understand that, but I think sometimes what I've seen, I drive 4 or 5 streets to get to one, and those 4 or 5 streets that I'm driving on, they're just as bad. And it seems like if you're gonna have to drive those streets to get to that street that you're paving, why are we not? I get the worst to first and the density issue, but I don't think we're saving money. I think we're costing ourselves money.
I think if you look at the list for fiscal year '25, after the direction we received from the board to use more of a common sense method rather than going strictly on density, you'll see that we did that. If they're gonna be in an area, we're gonna hit the roads that are the worst roads in that area and keep from having to mobilize in different spots of the same neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Carl. All right, I-1. It's only one
Madam
applicant.
Chairman, I
Yes.
make a motion to move Heiko Cullenbach from member at large on the Aviation Advisory Board to District 3 member.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schleba, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Committee reports. Commissioner Kennard.
I have nothing. Oh, you know what I should say? I take that back.
So close.
I attended the MPO AC meeting over in Orlando, and at the risk of sounding a little negative or sour, they spent a lot more time having conversations about things that did not seem to pertain to the agenda than they did actually moving through their agenda and planning transportation initiatives for the state to go to the legislature. Their biggest concern, the MPOAC's biggest concern, is that last year the legislature was considering defunding them and questioning their relevance in transportation planning for the entire state. So the last 2 meetings of the MPOAC have, I guess the majority of the discussion, the lion's share of the time, has been talking about how to make themselves relevant. You don't really make yourself relevant talking about how to make yourself relevant. So I did go over there. I listened, I participated. It was a little disappointing. I'll leave it at that. I might do the virtual meeting next time.
Commissioner Finnegan? We've only had 9 days since our last meeting, so. Commissioner Bays?
I'm trying to look up something, so.
Okay. Commissioner Schleba, did you have any other board meetings, committees? Okay. And I had nothing.
Well, so I do sit on the Springs Committee, and if you get a chance, go on to watermatters.org. Take a look. There's a lot of great information about Springs, whether it's Hernando County, Citrus County, and there's just some really good information in there, and I think there's going to be a lot of grant funding that's going to come over the next 2 years that's going to help fund these, keeping our springs healthy. So take a look at it. I think you'll be impressed.
Thank you. Commissioner Schleba, Commissioner remarks.
Yes, I just want to say I have a little presentation so that to remind this board what the previous board has done and what this board has done, and to keep the animal shelter and the Inverness Airport Park on the forefront. And I don't know who to, Cheryl? Okay. Thank you. The needs of our citizens. Throughout my tenure as commissioner, my priority has always been the needs of our citizens. You're the reason that I showed up every day. When I came into office, my colleagues and I began to turn the tide of too many cans being kicked down the road and a lack of vision when planning for the future, pushing back against years and years of much being said and, frankly, little being done. This board has changed that momentum, tackling problems head on, asking and answering tough questions, making tough decisions, and most importantly, acting on them. It wasn't always easy, and if you know my personal story, you know that there were real struggles at times. But I am so proud of what we accomplished during my time in office.
Today is a great day for Citrus County and the Citrus County Animal Shelter.
You could refer to replacing our animal shelter as my pet project. But in 2021, we committed to building a centrally located shelter in Lecanto and moved this off the back burner. Shelter! Since our site dedication last year, we've reached the final steps of the design phase at 99% complete. In October, the BOCC voted to move forward with the critical permits we'll need to hit the ground running when construction begins. Ending years of delay, we've also moved forward on widening one of the county's most important central arteries, County Road 491, or Lecanto Highway.
As the Commissioner for District 3, I affirm that the long-anticipated project is a crucial response to our community's evolving needs.
We're going to make it easier to travel by easing congestion, while also expanding safety by adding a traffic light at West Horace Allen Street. Another long overdue item that we pushed for was the passage of a classification and pay study for county employees. Our pay rates for our county employees were stuck in the past. Recognizing and understanding the cost savings of retaining county staff and the need to compete in the marketplace when recruiting new staff, we increased our minimum starting rate ahead of the state's minimum wage requirements and are now compensating our employees at market rate. This was an important decision, and it came down to a 3-2 vote. But taking care of such a precious commodity, and remember, our employees live and pay taxes here, was too important to delay. The phrase, where nature and community thrive, has been repeated often. And for myself and my colleagues on the BOCC, this was more than just words. It was a driving force. As your chairman, we work with then Senate President Wilton Simpson, securing a state grant just under $4 million for septic to sewer conversion for Blue Water Cove to protect the waters of the Homosassa River, and $1 million to refurbish the beloved Fishbowl Underwater Observatory at Ellie Schiller Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park. We also built Phase 1 of the Inverness Airport Business Park, a significant economic development investment for Citrus County.
With a new frontier of economic opportunity on the horizon, let today be the beginning of a new chapter for Citrus County.
It allows us to compete with other counties and states by having a shovel-ready site for businesses looking to build or relocate. This project has the potential to add hundreds of millions of dollars to Citrus County's GDP, with more than 800 good-paying jobs. Sometimes the wheels of progress turn slowly and present long-term challenges, like the Beverly Hills Central Ridge Park Master Plan It's a perfect example, but the work and the progress on this central amenity of Beverly Hills is ongoing. In August, we announced the construction of the county's first multi-court pickleball tennis complex.
I'm thrilled to be here today to officially get this project underway. It's been a labor of love, and for all of us that we will soon be playing pickleball and tennis at a beautiful multi-court complex.
One of my final duties as commissioner was one of the most emotional and heartwarming. The blessing, dedication, and opening of the Safe Haven Baby Box at Fire Station number 7 in Crystal River. This is the 3rd baby box in the state of Florida, so little old Citrus County represented, and Fallon, that's all you. You did this. I was so proud of Fallon Hellstern's efforts. Slayball Security and Sound played a big role by installing the box's alarm system at no cost. I'm very grateful to the Safe Haven organization, Daly and Zilt Construction, Citrus County Fire Rescue, and so many individual citizens who made this happen. I'd like to say thank you to my fellow commissioners for all of their work. Momentum is a superpower, and I'm excited to see the direction Citrus County is moving in as we see our work become a reality. I'm also excited about my future direction, continuing to highlight Citrus County's economic opportunities. It has been a pleasure serving you over these last 4 years, and I will forever be Ruthie for Citrus. Thank you.
Do you have any words now that you've made me tear up a little?
No, thank you.
All righty. Well done, Commissioner Schleybaugh. Anybody want to follow that? I guess that would be Commissioner Kennard. Do you have anything?
Yes, I do, actually. I want to, first of all, I want to congratulate again my good friend, longtime friend, now Representative-elect J.J. Grow, as well as our current Senator Blaise Ngola. Those two in Tallahassee are going to represent Citrus County incredibly well. We have had a strong voice up there with Senator Wilton Simpson and Dr. Masulo, and then, of course, Senator Blaise coming in behind Senator Simpson, and now with JJ up there with Blaise. I just feel I feel like we're going to have just incredible representation in Tallahassee. I'm very excited about that. I would be remiss to not say what a pleasure it's been to serve with Commissioner Schleybaugh. You've not only been a very good friend since our kids were very young together, but it's been a pleasure to be your colleague. Not going to say goodbye at this point because I know you're not going anywhere, and I look forward to not only seeing you here in the chambers, but also I know we'll see you in Tallahassee up there advocating for Citrus County projects. You know, when you were first elected, you and Commissioner Davis were on the board. I remember you talking about making Citrus County more business friendly, that we had to expand our economic base, that we had to expand our economic opportunity. And that just 4 short years ago, we have done that. We have not that this board brings in business, but we have had the conversation from this dais about this board's job is to lay the groundwork for private investment. And Lord, have we attracted some private investment. People bringing those dollars into the county to develop projects that not only offer employment opportunities, but offer significant opportunities to increase revenue to our local economy and raise the bar for Citrus County. So you have been incredibly successful at what you set out to do, and my friend, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Finnegan. No? Let's see. Bays is next. Commissioner Bays.
Thank God I don't have to call you commissioner anymore, Ruthie. No, honestly, it's been a pleasure serving with you. I've enjoyed your sense of humor. Your time as being a chair, right? It was humorous at times, so, and you kept things light, so I appreciate that. Gonna miss you, and, but as Kennard said, you won't be gone. You'll just be around the corner somewhere, causing trouble. I would like to give a shout out. Thank you, Commissioner Finnegan, for not taking the canvassing board. It was the first time I've ever done it. I will tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I want to commend Mo Barrett, our supervisor of elections, her entire team. That is a tough job, and it's hours. I mean, these people are up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning until late at night getting machines out, and it is a well-oiled machine. It's a lot more than what I ever anticipated, and it was an education. I enjoyed it. You know, what that woman can do, turning those results out by 7:30 p.m., it's amazing. So if you get a chance, drop Mo a note and let her know how much we appreciate her being our supervisor of elections here in Florida, because she does a great job along with her team. I want to congratulate all the people in our county and the Citrus Council, or Crystal River Council, the Inverness Council, on their elections. I look forward to working with them. And Janet, next time you'll be sitting here. Come with solutions. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to echo what Commissioner Kennard and Bays said about congratulating J.J. Grow and Blaise Ngolia and the city councils for a job well done. I also want to thank the Citrus County voting public for re-electing me on Tuesday. It's been a true honor to serve the last 4 years, and with that kind of numbers, all that does is energize me to somehow work even harder and even more passionately for the future of Citrus. So thank you for trusting me with that responsibility. It is very much appreciated. As far as Commissioner Schleybaugh, so one of the things we do up here, I've kind of noticed you naturally do this, we are asked to be almost quasi-experts on a vast range of topics and issues in the county. And so it's impossible for all of us to be 100% tuned up on every single subject, nor try to spearhead every single project. Commissioner Schleybaugh had an enormous amount of courage to take on the animal shelter with the board at that time. And I always joked that I was her sort of wing woman. I would always play second to her, but that was her baby. My baby was the strategic plan, which I'm just still stunned that we won a national award for that. But now that the strategic plan is underway, I have my own next priorities that I would really like to work on, but I have added animal shelter to that list. So please please stay tuned. I have I believe an article, guest column coming out this weekend in the Chronicle, and I'll be communicating and hopefully getting feedback with ideas and solutions from our residents. And I also want to echo what you said about Mo's team, Mo Baird's team, and thank not only Mo and her team, but also all the tremendous numbers of volunteers that it takes to put on a safe and efficient election here in Citrus County. We set the standard. We come out with our results so fast and so accurately. It is absolutely a beautiful thing to watch with our democracy in action here at home. And finally, as chair, this is my last, we have 6 growth management cases tonight, so we might be here till quite late. But this is my last day as chair, and I want to thank my colleagues for putting me in the center seat. Mostly thank you for putting me in the center seat. And it's been quite a learning opportunity, especially with two just unbelievable hurricanes back to back and a very fast dive into what it's like to be on emergency management. So thank you for your trust, and thanks for the collegial atmosphere. I very much appreciate it. Madam Attorney.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I neglected to congratulate you as well on your reelection. I apologize.
Okay, look, where's the, erase the black mark on my notes.
A resounding successful election. Good for you. Congratulations.
You know I don't count coup. I'm teasing. And yes, Commissioner Finnegan texted me, congratulations. So, Madam Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing that I would say that I was listening closely to Josh Wooten earlier, and he said that it was time for Commissioner Slaybaugh to start listening to, or not listening to folks in Publix anymore, but I would just like to say thank you for our conversation in Publix many years ago.
Okay, and now with all that, opens the last open to the public. Would anyone like to address the board? But wait, there's more. I know we do. Ms. Barrick, you will soon be very familiar with us.
Yes.
We need a break before 5:01.
Yes, I do. All right, Janet Barrick, Citrus Springs resident. You notice I said Citrus Springs resident. Okay, last Friday I had the wonderful opportunity to go to a luncheon. Commissioner Bays was there, Commissioner Finnegan was there. It was the 10th anniversary for the HCA. And that was really, really nice. 10 years they've been in Citrus County operating the hospital. And on top of that, they've only got 89 more years to go before their lease is up. So it was kind of nice. They have brought in physicians and assistants, and they were able to get that hospital done in Inverness here, and it's been really nice. And it looks like it's going to continue that way, at least from what everybody was saying, you know, that got up and gave their speeches. So I thought it was really nice that, you know, I got invited to that. Monday is the parade for Veterans Day. So please, veterans need our support, whether they are just normal people that didn't have any problem in the service, or those that did have a problem and were wounded some way or another, whether it's a physical or mental problem. We need to respect them. They are our veterans. And let's see. I know that she said there's another way to get on the page to find what I'm trying to find. Okay. I am not the only one that cannot find things. I am the one that actually comes up here and says, I couldn't find it. And I'll bet if you ask some of the other people in Citrus County that go on the board page and try, or the county page, and try to find where these things are. And then when, you know, people come up and they say, well, you just have to go, this. Number one, most of those people are like me, semi-computer literate. And yes, it's going to take me a lot when I move up to the seat up there, because I will catch on, because I will do that. But what about our citizens that don't have the extra? Our page for Citrus County should be easy enough for all citizens, whether they're 8 years old and just learning how to read and got an assignment from their teacher to look something up about the county, or whether they're 80 years old and they're having a frustration with what's going on with their tax money and what the county was doing. Or if they're just somebody sitting back looking at what our county has to offer. Our page has to be easy as a county. And that's one of the things you ask what I have for questions. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hello, I'm Shonda Burdett. I'm a citizen in, where do I live? Hernando. also the Executive Director of the Citrus County Education Foundation. I wanted to take a moment to say to this board that we are so grateful for the support that we continue to have in education from all of you. I specifically want to say today, Commissioner Schleybaugh went out one afternoon with a plan to help support the digital divide in Citrus County for our students. She came back with a way to change the trajectory of many of our kids during COVID, but also during hurricanes, during a multitude of situations that our families found themselves in, struggling with education. So today, for many reasons, I want to say thank you. Thank you for putting education first. Thank you for putting our children first. And thank you for always being a phone call away for all citizens that were in need of all kinds of questions. I would also like to say to you, Holly, thank you. Thank you for leading this board. And thank you for all of your help during hurricane relief. Although I couldn't be with you on the sideline, I was behind the scenes working at the schools, but this commission made sure that all of the schools' needs were met. And we are so very grateful for that continued partnership. And we look forward to all of the projects that we're working on in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. CCSD is one of the things I'm most proud of living in Citrus County. Y'all doing a magnificent job. Would anyone else like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close open to the public. Unless, Mark, were you making a motion that you wanted to come up? You can only speak once during each open to the public, so.
I'll make this very quick.
Yep.
My plans, yes, I wasn't asking for funding. I am going to carry the weight, and I'm hoping the purchase of the building may, in fact, one day help pay for those 110 cats. And I have a deal for all those rats, you know. We'll get those cats over there. But, yeah. So, but yeah, I could second mortgage my home for my dream, you know, and the Lord takes care of me. He'll give you the purpose of your heart when you do it for him. And that's what I want to do. So I just want to say.
I don't know, if the rat was this big, that might take out a cat.
We got 110 cats. I go by there every day, and I never see a car there. I don't know when they feed them, but I'm going to be looking out. I'm going to see that building one day so I can walk inside. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close open to the public, and we do not read the meetings anymore. All right. Anyone?
I just want to say,
Yeah.
thank you for mentioning Veterans Day. I was thinking that today with the flag pin. Remember, there's a parade. It'll start at 10 in downtown Inverness. Afterwards, there'll be a ceremony at the courthouse, and for veterans and their families or widows, there'll be a special event at Inverness Depot, and I will be the guest speaker at that event. So if you're around, come on down. It'll be a great event. Thanks, Janet, or Commissioner Barrick, thank you.
And I'm speaking, since I'm chair, I'm speaking at the courthouse, and also going to the military ball. And I did not go to HCA's thing because I had 5 other things booked at the same time on the other side of the county. So I wanted to be there, but I couldn't. And with that, we are, anything else? Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to wait till the very end, but I wanted to say congratulations to my colleague, Commissioner Holly Davis. She received 75% of the vote, which was huge, and I'm proud of you, and I know you're going to do a good job and continue. So I'm a phone call away, and you know, I ran because of Jeff Kennard. I've known him for a very long time, and I always blame it on him because I knew there was another businessman up there, and I wanted to stimulate the economic development and encourage our businesses to stay. And I've known Rebecca Bays for over 20 years, and she is my friend, and I'm so excited to be able to travel with you and have dinner and do all the fun things we did before you became back to be a commissioner. So I appreciate your friendship, and thank you all for everything you've done for me.
All right. We are recessed till 5:01.
Hey, Steve.